welcome back, and today I'm going to be going a little bit into detail on the priority sequence, which has been a source of confusion for many new players, and hopefully this will help to explain it in a bit more detail. Priority is what determines when the active player can play cards and activate abilities. Some examples here. Prism has a once per turn instant activation. That's an activated ability. And Dreamweaver's action, destroy Dreamweavers. So that's an ability, an activated ability. Just a couple examples. The first thing to understand is that the only time any player can have priority is during the action phase. There is no priority during the start of turn phase or the end of turn phase. So you will know that during those times you will never be able to play cards or activate abilities of any kind. Another important note to remember is that anytime a layer resolves, there will be a sequence of priority. Since this can happen many times through the turn, I will not be conveying every situation that it can occur to keep the video short and concise. But if you are unsure if you should get priority, the most simplistic way to determine this is that if something happened with the game state, you may get priority. When the action phase starts, the turn player will have priority. At this time, their options are to either play an instant, activate an action ability, such as a weapon, item, or piece of equipment, or play an action or attack action card. They may also choose to do none of these and simply pass priority, which most often happens when a player starts their turn with an empty hand. For example, if I just started my turn and I had no hand, I wouldn't be able to do anything. I would just pass priority. If the turn player plays or activates an instant, then they may hold priority or pass priority. If they play or activate a non-attack action, then they need to pass priority to the opposing player before that action can become a layer. Remember that actions can only be played to layer 1 of the chain. So for example, if I was at 2 life and my opponent played Invert Existence as an instant and was able to remove a non-attack action and attack action card from my graveyard, it would deal 2 arcane damage to me, which would kill me basically. So if they did that on their turn and I didn't have any way of preventing the damage, that would kill me. So they play an instant, they need to pass priority before this instant resolves. I can play, for example, a Sigil of Solace, which will gain me another 2 life. And in that case, I might survive. Now, however, if I was sitting at 2 life, and I played Sigil of Solace, then they played Invert Existence in response, their Invert Existence would resolve first, dealing 2 damage to me, putting me at 0 life. Sigil of Solace would never resolve because I'm already dead. So those are 2 distinctions of how you should choose to layer your instance. Another example, if my opponent plays a Barraging Beatdown, which is going to intimidate me when it resolves, as well as give their next attack +4 in this case, I can then choose to respond with an Arclight Sentinel as an instant. Now the Arclight Sentinel was played last, so it will resolve first, creating the Sentinel, and then their Barraging Beatdown would resolve, intimidating one of the cards out of my hand. Also, their next attack, which is getting a big buff from Barraging Beatdown, will be forced to attack my Arclight Sentinel and effectively waste their card and possibly their turn. If the opposing player has priority, their options are to either play an instant or activate an instant speed ability or pass priority. Priority will continue to pass back and forth until both players pass without playing cards. Then the game will resolve the highest layer of the chain. Once a layer resolves, priority will return to the turn player and the sequence will start again. When a card or activated ability is played and both players pass priority, the card or ability will become layer 1 and will open a combat chain. This is an important part of the turn from a rules perspective, as it is the point of a lot of confusion, but I will keep it simple as possible for this video. Look forward to a future video that will explain the very subtle yet very important difference between step 20.4.2 and 20.4.4 of the combat chain. Once a combat chain is open and a card or ability is attacking and all triggers have resolved, both players have passed priority, we move on to the defense step. So let's say my Spectral Shield is attacking because it is a weapon from Luminaris. During the defend step, the defending player chooses cards and equipment to defend with. I will not go into detail on defending as we are focused on priority for this video. Once all defending cards are declared and triggers have resolved, the turn player will get priority to play and activate instants. There are a couple cards that can be played that may affect the attack or defense values of cards at this time. If the turn player chooses to pass priority without playing anything, then the defending player may play or activate instants which can affect attack or defense value of cards. For example, I can play Binding Beam, which will reduce the attack value of a defending card. This is important for cards with Phantasm, as Phantasm can be destroyed by cards with 6 power or greater. Blinding Beam will reduce that card's power and prevent the Phantasm from being destroyed. Another example is Snag. If somebody plays Snag during the defense step, then later on in the reaction step, attacks won't be able to get additional power from attack reactions. Also, you can play Reinforce the Line, which will give a defending attack action card plus 4 defense. This is something the defending player might play. And then there's also Art of War, which can give bonus to attack value and defense value of attack action cards, which will help increase their defense or attack depending on who chooses to play it. Once all cards have resolved and both players pass priority in succession, it moves to the reaction phase. When the reaction phase begins, the turn player will have priority. They can use attack reactions and instants or pass. If the turn player plays a reaction or instant, they can either hold priority to play or activate another card or pass. When the defending player is given priority, they can play and activate instants or play defense reactions. They too may choose to hold priority or pass priority. An example where this is relevant, an opposing ninja wants to block a high power attack, but also wants to set up for their next defense. They may play a flik flac and respond to it with another flik flac. Now, the way this works is that because flik flac gives the next defending card plus 2 defense, it will look at the next card that is played in defense, not the next card that resolves in defense. So in this case, this will resolve and then this will resolve, giving the next combo card defending plus 4 instead of just plus 2. Now, if they played a flik flac and then passed priority, and then the attacking player passed priority, flik flac would resolve, giving the next defending card plus 2. Now, if they played a flik flac again, it will try to give this card plus 2, but as it's not a combo, it won't work. And then this flik flac will then affect the next card as well. So that is where that is relevant currently, though that may change in the future. as there's been some discussion with how the flik flac should be resolving. Now, once all layers on the combat chain resolve, and both players pass on layer 1, the combat step ends and damage calculation begins. During damage calculation, no one gets priority. This is important to know when someone might be facing lethal damage from combat but may have had an opportunity to gain life. Once the damage calculation step ends, the turn player will have priority, and any triggers that may have happened during damage calculation will now become layers to resolve. An example of a trigger that may have been put on hold for resolution at this time is a Merciful Retribution damage trigger that resulted in Spectral Shield token being destroyed during the damage calculation step. The turn player can now continue with their turn, either playing actions or attacking, etc., and the priority sequence will follow the same steps discussed until the turn player no longer wishes to perform any actions. Now, when the chain is empty and the turn player wishes to end their turn, they must still pass priority, giving their opponent an opportunity to play and activate instants. If they do, then the priority sequence will begin anew until all layers have resolved again and the chain is empty, at which point the turn player will again have priority. When both players pass priority in succession on an empty chain, the game moves to the end phase and no one will have priority until the next player's action phase begins. So I hope that helps to clear up a lot of the confusion with how priority works and how to sequence your plays in order to maximize the efficiency and the effectiveness of your cards when they resolve in priority sequence and on layers. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe and share to everyone that is still confused. And I hope to do more videos explaining these complex rules in the future. And have a good day.